Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're specifically going to talk about Moorbounder Mayhem. So, what is Moorbounder Mayhem? Moorbounder Mayhem is specifically a specific scene within Call of the Netherdeep. That super important book, which is all D&D, all Critical Role, and it's all now. It's like the new, it's the new fresh thing, right? And it's the most recent version, most recent source book for Dungeons and Dragons. And Moorbounder Mayhem is a beautiful, beautiful scene. It's like an encounter that is in the book on page 40. You'll find it on page 43. And so basically, your player characters are going across. They're in Wildmount. They're in the world of Exandria. That's the Critical Role world, which is now a D&D world because essentially Matthew Mercer gave it to them in an official book, or in a set of 3 official books, right? And they're in Wildmount, and they're in Zorhas, and they come across, and they're out in the wild, and they come across a tiefling scout, and the tiefling scout is on a Moorbounder. Now, a Moorbounder is like, think of a puma that you can ride. It's a little bigger than the puma, big enough for a medium humanoid to ride, right? And this tiefling scout is a Moorbound master. He masters riding Moorbounders, right? And these Moorbounders are these. It's like a saber-toothed puma that if you master it, you can ride it. But they're really like these killing machines that are just found out in the open in Zorhas, right? And they're very dangerous. But this tiefling scout has one that he rides, and he's out there trying to, like, it's almost like somebody trying to catch a bronco. He's trying to to contain and control these Moorbounders, but he's a little out of his depth. There's like 2 or 3 of them, and he's about to die. And so basically, the player characters need to come in. And what's really fascinating about this Moorbounder scene, and just this, it's this new Dungeons and Dragons, where Dungeons and Dragons is saying killing isn't enough, right? Like, we know you've killed 1 million goblins in a dungeon. We're looking for you to look beyond that, right? We're looking for you to see more, right? Like, just see what's here. Combat is only one of the pillars. And so this guy, he really wants to transform. He wants this tiefling scout on this Moorbounder. His name is Justice, which is really interesting. He wants the player character's helps to make sure he doesn't die, right? Because these Moorbounders could kill him and his Moorbounder because they're wild. But he also doesn't want them to kill the Moorbounders, right? Like, and so it's, and one of the things I love is this can go both directions. This can absolutely go the direction of, the bog standard Dungeons and Dragons, old school, well, we kill the Moorbounders and then the threat is taken away. But this tiefling scout named Justice, he wants these Moorbounders to be mastered, right? So that they can be ridden and they can be useful. And he's certain, or he also wants them to just go off. Maybe they take a wound or something, they lick their wounds and they heal, and they're still out on the plains, right? And so he doesn't want their death. And I just think it's so awesome. Like this, I think this is the future of Dungeons and Dragons. 5th edition and 6th edition and 7th edition is, yeah, we get it. There's still people who haven't matured to the point where they're like, not every scene needs to be combat. So let's make these scenes where the lower tier dungeon masters and the lower tier players can just kill the thing. The way that old 1984 style play, right? But the now play, right, is, hey, what can we do for this tiefling scout? What can we do for his mount? How can we deal with these monsters that are in the open area that is different than just killing them? And all of this is a maturation of the game. It's a maturation of the D&D community. It's a maturation of us personally. And there are like, Call of the Netherdeep is like life, right? It's like, you get up in the morning and you could go out and just look at this beautiful sunrise, and there's just beautiful content in Call of the Netherdeep. And I'm excited about it because I'm like, D&D now is always it's just the absolute Jimmy Jam. It just gets better and better and better, right? And I really want everybody to be on it, right? It haunts me that there are people playing D&D then and D&D copy and not seeing the beauty of the game because they're stuck in this myopic view of what D&D now is, right? They don't see it as Gary's legacy, right? They see Gary's legacy as this dusty, crusty old thing, right? And I really want to draw people into, just seeing the now and helping people to understand Gary's legacy is always D&D now, never D&D then, right? It didn't end. Gary's legacy did not end with 1E and 2E, and only the most shriveled souls see that as truth, right? And the truth is D&D now is always Gary's greatest legacy, and we should be on it, right? And it's called Netherdeep. It's just stunning. If you don't have this book, get it. All that's my opinion. Love to hear your thoughts. What did you think when you read this section of the book? What are you really jamming on when you look at Call of the Netherdeep? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider like and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.